Thank you for coming tonight. I have a question for you tonight about relationships. Have you ever had trouble with your relationships, or have you ever had trouble in trying to help somebody with a life relationship? Well, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, and they took some data from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, most of us have trouble with relationships. A study done 1950 to 2005 shows that the divorce rate got as high as 50%. Now, though that rate has dropped today, it's still very high. Now, why do we have such trouble? I'm going to offer a couple ideas tonight for you that maybe will help us resolve some of those issues that we have with relationships. Some of the basic ideas I want to talk about are setting good foundations, such as having healthy expectations and in our marriages, and good communication skills. And the second one is going to be mentoring those that are coming up behind us in order to teach them how to establish good, healthy skills. In their book, Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts, Doctors Les and Leslie Parrott, co-directors of the Center for Relationship Development at Seattle Pacific University and co-authors of multiple books on marriage and relationships, say this: back in 2005, 2.4 million weddings, 43% won't make it. Of 200,000 marriages a year will end before the second anniversary. With a 200-guest wedding, it costs $22,000, and it's a $50 billion a year industry in the wedding industry. You would think with that much money being spent, we would have more success in our marriages. Well, why aren't they succeeding? Well, let's start with a good foundation. Healthy expectations. Most of us, especially when we're young, tend to have a romanticized vision of a marriage. We start off our marriage thinking it's all dreamy, we're the book cover of life. And we know, after some experience, that is not so. So where do we get these expectations from? What are some of the expectations that we might have? Well, one of you might be a spender, one of you might be a saver. One might be a cleanie, one might be messy. We have different roles and different ideas coming into marriage, and often they don't blend. And we're often not taught how to resolve those issues before we get there. Many of these differences create tension. Well, establishing good communication before the marriage will often help reduce some of that tension. Sophocles, a Greek playwright, from 495 to 405 BC said this: "It is terrible to speak well and be wrong." Being able to say the right words is okay, but if you can't communicate the idea, communication fails, and communication is key to marriage. The Parrots in their book cite a Gallup poll that says 97% who rate their partners as having excellent communication skills have a happy marriage, as opposed to 56% who rate their partners poor in communication skills. In the conclusion of this poll, they stated this: "In an era of increasingly fragile marriages, a couple's ability to communicate is the single most important contributor to a stable and satisfying marriage." Obviously, communication is key, but often we wind up doing what? Settling for less than we bargained for. This is often what we feel that we have after the marriage. Communication is something that we must work on, we must establish, and we must be willing to work on and improve in ourselves. Why settle for less? Where and when do these skills begin? Well, hopefully they would begin as a child, but we know life is not ideal. Proverbs 22:6 says this: "Train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they'll not depart from it." That deals with not only the spiritual aspect, but the practical life applications as well. Paul said in 1 Corinthians 11:1, "Be ye followers of me as I follow Christ." He wanted us to follow him. He was there to mentor and train those coming behind him. Children and young people need living examples in order to have successful lives. On the Big Brother, Big Sister website, they quoted a study done by a public-private venture group who's a national research organization of over 950 boys and girls in 1994-95. They showed that those that had mentors were more likely to make good choices and avoid the bad choices that many children without mentors make. So the conclusion of this is this. 46% are less likely to begin using illegal drugs. 27% less likely to begin using alcohol. 52% less likely to skip school. 37% less likely to skip a class. And this is one of my personal favorites, 33% less likely to hit someone. Now, we know how much kids like to hit each other. If we could decrease that, that would be great. Influencing our children and the people that we come into contact with in our life is going to be key to changing the divorce rate in our society. If we as adults, we as parents, we as grandparents, we have to be willing to live lives with integrity, with purpose, and with intent, showing our children the right way to live life, developing those skills of communication, setting good foundations with healthy expectations. Thank you very much.